I stood outside the mahogany doors of Parker Industries' main conference room, listening to raised voices from within. The quarterly board meeting was about to start, and for the first time in the company's 30-year history, a Parker was being denied entry. "She's my daughter." Mom's voice carried through the door. "She has every right. She's not on the board." My father's voice cut through, sharp and final. "This meeting is family only, Margaret. Blood family." I smiled grimly, clutching my laptop closer. Inside were documents that would shake Parker Industries to its core: proof of mismanagement, evidence of declining market share, and most importantly, proxy votes I'd spent 6 months quietly collecting. "Miss Parker." My assistant's voice came through my earpiece. "The shareholders are ready for the virtual connection." "Perfect timing," I murmured, turning away from the doors. I didn't need to be in that room. Not anymore. 5 years ago, I'd walked away from my guaranteed position at Parker Industries after Dad made it clear that being his daughter wasn't enough. I needed to be his son to have any real power. My brother Thomas, younger by 2 years and significantly less qualified, was given my promised position as Chief Strategy Officer. Blood family, Dad had said then too. The Parker name needs a male heir. So I left. Started my own consulting firm. Specialized in turning around failing industrial companies. Companies just like Parker Industries was becoming under my father's outdated leadership and my brother's incompetent strategies. And I waited. Watched as their stock price dropped 40% in 3 years. Noticed when major clients started jumping ship. Counted as institutional investors began questioning the family's control. Then I started buying shares. Quietly through various entities. Talking to frustrated shareholders. Building alliances with board members who weren't part of the Parker clan. "Elizabeth." I turned to see my mother standing in the doorway, looking torn between loyalty to her husband and concern for her daughter. "You should go back inside, Mom," I said softly. "The meeting's about to start. Your father, he's just traditional. Give him time." I checked my phone. 3 minutes until the shareholder vote. Time's up. Inside the boardroom, Dad was calling the meeting to order. I could picture them all. Dad at the head of the table, Thomas to his right, various uncles and male cousins filling the seats that should have gone to more qualified executives. "Streaming link is live," my assistant confirmed. I nodded, opening my laptop. On screen, hundreds of shareholders were logging into the virtual voting system, a modern innovation Dad had fought against but was legally required to provide. "First order of business," Dad's voice came through the feed. "Quarterly earnings." "Point of order," a voice interrupted Jensen from the Institutional Investor Group. "Right on schedule. Before we proceed, there's a motion from the shareholders for an immediate leadership vote." Chaos erupted in the boardroom. I could hear Thomas stammering, "They can't do that." "Actually," Jensen continued smoothly, "according to company bylaws, shareholders holding more than 40% of voting rights can call for a leadership vote at any time." 40%? Dad scoffed. "No one holds that much except family." "The voting consortium holds 43%, Jensen replied. "Led by Summit Ventures. My little consulting firm, which owned exactly 11% of Parker Industries, just under the threshold requiring public disclosure." "Summit." Thomas sounded confused. "Who are they?" "That would be me." I walked into the boardroom, heels clicking on the hardwood floor. The look on Dad's face was worth every minute of the past 5 years. "Elizabeth," he sputtered. "What is this?" "This," I set my laptop down, "is business. Something you taught me, remember? Before you decided chromosomes were more important than competence." The voting platform appeared on the large screen behind me, shareholders' names scrolling as they logged in. "You can't do this," Thomas protested. "We're family." "Family only," I echoed Dad's words back to him. "Isn't that right?" The voting began. The next 5 minutes were the longest of my life. The room was dead silent except for the soft pings of incoming votes, each one making Dad flinch slightly. Thomas was frantically texting, probably trying to rally family shareholders who'd already pledged their votes to me months ago. "Impossible," he muttered, staring at his phone. "Cousin Michael's shares. Uncle James's pension fund. All voted for change," I finished. Turns out blood isn't thicker than a 40% drop in share value. The institutional investors' representative, Jensen, cleared his throat. The family's managing style has become problematic. Ms. Parker presented a compelling turnaround strategy. A strategy one proposed 3 years ago, I added, meeting Dad's eyes. Right before you gave my position to Thomas. Mom's hands were shaking as she clutched her coffee cup. The family members in the room, all men of course, were shifting uncomfortably in their expensive chairs. The voting period will close in 1 minute, the system announced. Dad stood up, his face red. This is ridiculous. The Parker name dash is exactly why we're losing market share, I cut in. While you were busy protecting the family legacy, our competitors modernized. They embraced technology, diversity, new management styles. We stagnated. Our traditions dash, Thomas started. Lost us the Martinez contract last month, I interrupted. They wanted digital integration. You offered them the same systems we've used since 1995. The screen blinked. Voting is now closed. Calculating results. Mom's knuckles were white around her coffee cup. Dad had sunk back into his chair, looking suddenly old. Thomas was still typing frantically on his phone, as if he could somehow change what was about to happen. The results appeared. Leadership vote results. New CEO, Elizabeth Parker 56%. Current management, 44%. Motion passes. The sound of Mom's coffee cup shattering on the floor echoed through the silent room. 56%? Thomas whispered. But how? I opened my laptop, displaying a chart of Parker Industries' performance over the past 5 years. While you were enjoying your corner office, I was meeting with shareholders. Showing them exactly how much money your leadership was costing them. The pension funds, Dad realized. The institutional investors. Want returns, not tradition, Jensen confirmed. Ms. Parker's track record with her consulting firm is impressive. I thought about all the companies I'd turned around, each one a practice run for this moment. Every success had been a message to the shareholders of Parker Industries. I know how to fix this. This is effective immediately, Jensen continued, reading from the shareholder resolution. Elizabeth Parker will assume CEO responsibilities as of this moment. Dad stood up again, straightening his tie, a nervous habit I remembered from childhood. You can't just walk in and dash. Actually, I smiled, I can. And my first act as CEO is to call for a full audit of all executive positions. We'll be evaluating everyone based on merit, not last names. Thomas went pale. We both knew what an objective evaluation of his performance would show. You'd fire your own brother? Mom asked softly. No, I replied. I'd reassign anyone who's underqualified to positions more suited to their abilities. Like I tried to suggest 3 years ago. The boardroom doors opened and my team walked in, analysts, tech experts, and management consultants I'd worked with for years. Each carried laptops and tablets, tools of modern business that this room had never seen. Shall we begin? I asked, taking my father's seat at the head of the table. The next month was a whirlwind of change at Parker Industries. The mahogany-lined offices were replaced with modern workspaces. Digital systems replaced paper files. Merit-based promotions shocked a workforce used to waiting for family members to retire. Thomas was reassigned to regional sales, a position better suited to his networking skills than corporate strategy. He wasn't speaking to me, but the sales numbers in his division were up 15% in just 3 weeks. Turned out he was actually good at something. It just wasn't what Dad had forced him to be. I sat in my new office, glass-walled and paperless. A statement about the transparency and modernization I was bringing to the company. The stock had jumped 30% since the leadership change, and the Martinez contract was back on the table, impressed by our new digital initiatives. Elizabeth. Mom stood at my door looking uncertain. It was the first time she'd visited since the takeover. Come in, I said, closing my laptop. How's Dad? She sat down, smoothing her skirt nervously. He's adjusting. The board reports from last week helped. Seeing the numbers improve. Pride was always his weakness, I noted. And his strength. He wanted to protect the family legacy, she said softly. By destroying it? I pulled up our performance charts. Mom, look at this. If we'd continued on his path, Parker Industries wouldn't have survived another 5 years. She studied the projections and I saw the moment understanding hit her. All those charity board meetings she'd attended, all those financial reports she'd reviewed, she wasn't just my father's wife. She was smart in her own right. The Martinez contract, she said suddenly. It wasn't really about digital integration, was it? I smiled. Mom had always been perceptive. No. They wanted to see if Parker Industries could change. If we were stuck in the past or ready for the future. And now they're seeing a company led by merit instead of heredity. One that values innovation over tradition. My phone buzzed, a message from Thomas. Sales meeting tomorrow. New digital pitch ready for your review. He's trying, Mom noted, seeing my small smile. Because now he's doing what he's good at, not what Dad wanted him to be. A knock at the door interrupted us. Jensen entered with a group of institutional investors. Ms. Parker, the quarterly projections are ready. And the Martinez team is here for the final negotiations. Mom stood up, but I gestured for her to stay. Watch, I said. For the next hour, she observed as I led a meeting that would have been impossible in my father's Parker Industries. Digital presentations, real-time market analysis, diverse perspectives from team members chosen for their expertise rather than their last names. When it was over and Martinez had signed a contract worth triple their original offer, Mom was quiet. This is what you tried to show him, isn't it? 3 years ago. I nodded. The world was changing. We needed to change with it. He's in his study, she said. Every day watching the stock price rise. Reading about our new contracts. Seeing the company grow in ways he never imagined. And yesterday, she smiled slightly, he took down the family tree from the wall. Put up the new company organization chart instead. I felt something tight in my chest loosen slightly. Progress. He'd like to meet, she added. Not as former CEO. Just as your father. I thought about the little girl who used to sit in his office, learning about business while her brother played outside. The daughter who'd seen the future of the company so clearly, even when tradition blinded everyone else. Next week, I said. After the digital transformation announcement. Tell him to bring the old quarterly reports and an open mind. Mom stood, straightening her shoulders in a way that reminded me of myself. You know what he said yesterday? The Parker name means something different now. Something better. As she left, I looked out over the transformed office space. Where once there had been closed doors and hierarchy, now there was collaboration and innovation. The Parker name didn't just belong to the family anymore. It belonged to every employee who was helping build its future. My phone buzzed again, a message from Dad. The Martinez numbers. Well done. Maybe lunch next week. I smiled, typing back. Yes. Dad. Bring your laptop. Time to learn some new tricks. Sometimes the best way to honor a legacy is to reinvent it. And sometimes, just sometimes, being banned from a board meeting is the beginning of building something better than anyone imagined.